This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on initiatives for doubling the farmer's income. The participants are Harveer Singh, agriculture expert, and Sanjeev Mukherjee, journalist.
Harveer sir, how feasible is the target to achieve doubling farmers' income by 2022? And what are the steps that the government has taken in the last few years towards this objective?
To achieve this target, which government has fixed, government is taking a lot of steps, and we have to go back when government announced, and now the policy initiative has shifted from production to farmers' income. So that is a big change, and income enhancement cannot be done just through the crop production or crop price. We have to take a holistic approach for better farming income, where income from the crop, income from the animal husbandry, dairy, income from other livelihood resources in the rural economy, everything should come together. That's why if you see the initiatives, these initiatives addresses all these issues in a systematic manner. And government appointed this Dalwai committee, who was at that time the special secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. So he also prepared very voluminous reports and gave a lot of suggestions. And all these suggested things are around these measures, and one by one steps are being taken.
One thing which you very rightly mentioned is that the focus has shifted from production-centric to income-centric. And in terms of income, as we all know, it is the allied sector which has come up in a very big way in the last few years, in fact in the last few decades, as a very viable and a very regular and a very stable source of income for the farmers. What do you think the government should be doing or has done to push this sector, basically the non-crop sector that we are talking about?
Few things have been done by the government in recent past. New ministry was created for animal husbandry, dairy and fisheries to have more focused approach, because you see the value of these products are very high. So if farmers enters into new product which has the high value and high return, so it has a direct impact on their income. Like dairy, the milk, the value of the milk produced by the farmer in the country crossed the value of the crop, basically food grain crops. So it shows that it is the highest revenue resource for the farmers, milk only. So if more and more farmers enters into dairy farming, so definitely their income gets added in a faster manner. On the other hand, like you see, the growth in fisheries production has grown substantially. So it's much faster than crop production. And again, value is also high in this production also. And that's why farmers are adopting fisheries as a big profession. And you see, like our inland fishery production is going very high. States like Haryana adopted this inland fisheries in a big way.
Another thing which always becomes when we talk about doubling farmers' income is the size of the land holdings. As we have progressively seen, the size of the land holdings is going down in India. Farmers are holding lesser amount of land now as they were holding say 10 years or 15 years or 20 years back. Small holding farmers constitute the maximum number of farmers in our country. Now, we have seen the government has formed a cooperative ministry, and one objective of the cooperative movement, who very well know, is to bring all small stakeholders into under one single roof to utilize their collective strength. How do you think this is progressing, given the fact that now we have a separate ministry, and how this should be moving forward in the years to come?
Actually, you rightly said, Sanjeev, we have large number of farmers are basically marginal and small farmers. Their landholding size is less than a hectare, and the size or percentage of these farmers more than 85% in our total these landholders. So how government can increase their income or can make their life economically better? Farmers collective is the, I think, most viable solution in our country. So, and we have good examples also where farmers come together, they constituted or created a new organization for themselves, and with this collective wealth creation and the distribution of this wealth among those who are the partner in this progress, so their life has become better. We have some very successful cooperative in the country in milk sector, and some other sectors also we have good cooperatives. So definitely this slogan of Sahkar se Samriddhi is a very important basically initiative, and you know that if we our farmers create themselves true cooperatives with better management and professional skill, so they can doubly benefit it, because if they buy collectively their input and sell their output also collectively, So their bargaining strength or power becomes more and more this thing positive for them on both the sides. If their input cost definitely will go down if they buy in bulk collectively, and when they sell their output collectively, they can bargain better with the buyers. Or at the same time, they can create uniform quality products also. So they can plan the market in advance. They can get good contracts for future for the prospective buyers or an industry or some processors, which can give them better income. Now, independent, a separate ministry for cooperative. So I think this sector will bloom and beneficiary are the farmers in future for this sector.
Coming to farmers collective, one big initiative of the government is the 10,000 SPOs, the farmer producer organizations or farmer producer companies, which they plan to float over the next 5 years. They've allocated some amount of money for that also, and already we have almost 4,000, 5,000 SPOs, though many of them might not be completely out of profitable or out of their nascent stage. How do you see this SPO movement pushing up? Because one side we have the cooperatives, which are, we all know, it's a very successful model and has been delivering benefits to farmers. Amul is a very big example and a very successful example. And how do you see the SPO movement now coming up and pushing this collective, the theory of collectivization going forward?
You see, SPO movement is almost a decade old. Small Farmers Agribusiness Consortium started in the Department of Agriculture to create farmers, producers organizations under Companies Act. Then NABARD is also have Nav Kisan, and they also are in this process to create FPOs and to help out these FPOs financially and to guide them on the knowledge side. But now there is a change in the policy and focus. Government is targeted to create 10,000 FPO across the country, and there is a budget of more than 6,000 crore to give different kind of grants, equity grant and some support or some handholdings by some successful organizations or some organizations who have expertise in the marketing and infrastructure. So all these things are coming together. And now there is a big change. Now FPOs are not necessarily to be created under Companies Act. You can create FPO under cooperatives. So now cooperative FPOs are there. You can create FPO in Society Act. So there are multiple options.
As obviously one of the biggest schemes of the government is the PM Kisan, which is the direct transfer of income model, the direct benefit transfer model. There are states which have also adopted a lot of the direct benefit transfers, Chhattisgarh being one, obviously Odisha, West Bengal. There are a lot of the states which are doing. How do you see this helping out in doubling farmers' income? Do you see this is a more viable or a more realistic model of pushing up farmers' income?
Actually, any additional income to the farmer is always very helpful to them, particularly for the small landholders. And this is a very big program by the government, transferring directly into the account of the farmers more than 70,000 crore per annum. So it is a big thing. But at the same time, as you told, that some targeted approach is also needed there, because this is a universal income kind of scheme. But in case of targeted, like some states like Haryana also started and Chhattisgarh started to give some direct support to the farmers, those who want to basically diversify in other crops rather than growing this wheat paddy cycle, to take them away from this cycle for the health of soil and to conserve the water and for the bettering of the farmers if they grow millets or pulses or oil seeds. So in that case, we need these products in the country, otherwise we are importing these products. So in that case, on the one hand, it caters the supply side and the availability increase in the country. On the other hand, farmers diversify their crop pattern as well as get money into their hand directly. So this kind of targeted approach is also needed in the farming sector.
Which also is one of the basic moves of the government in the last 7-8 years has been the MSP procurement. The procurement under MSP obviously has gone up across the crops, be it pulses or oilseeds or wheat or rice. And their calculation of MSP has also undergone a change. Now they give 50% over A2FL cost of production as a norm, not as an exception. So how do you see this going forward? How do you see this moving? Do you see this is an option that the government should continue, but for different crops also, not just wheat or rice?
Yes, you have rightly said that government should increase the coverage of procurement for other crops also. Government announced MSP for 23 crops, but major procurement happens for food grain, particularly 2 food grain and some pulses and some oil seeds. So if the coverage of procurement increase and diversify, so definitely farmers will have confidence to grow other crops also. And we need that, because just increasing the stocks of these food grain to central pool is not sustainable in the long run. It is good that we have stocks and we have exported good quantity of wheat and rice this time, and that it made a jump for agricultural export. And we are a very significant player in the international market due to wheat, rice, and sugar export. But at the same time, we also need some products in the country like more pulses and more oil seed. We are also depends on almost more than half of our requirement of edible oil. We fulfill through the imports. If our farmers grow these crops in the country, so definitely these 70 to 80,000 crore rupees we spend on import will go into the hands of the domestic farmers. And it will be a big change. It will be a good income increase of the domestic farmers.
Another thing which brings up the question of agriculture marketing, one big focus has been marketing of agriculture produce, because it's just not for doubling farmers' income, because you just not need to produce, you also need to market it properly. There have been some initiatives, obviously the farm laws, one of the objective which has been stated is that there is a move towards making more integrated, more clearer, more unhindered market, and obviously initiatives like ENAM and others. How do you see marketing playing a role in pushing up incomes of farmers? Because that's one of the most vital aspects of farming, right?
You are right that marketing is the most vital and crucial basically aspect of agriculture in our country for the farmers. Because the gap between farm and last consumer is huge. If the benefit goes to the farmer in a good manner, so definitely income must have been very high for the farmers reasonably. Like you see, we have an example, you mentioned that Amul. Whatever they earn from the consumer, almost entire income goes to the farmers. So a farmer sitting in Gujarat gets more than 45 rupees per liter. So this is huge, this thing. So basically, but it doesn't happen in other crops, like particularly perishable crops. Milk is also perishable. If we have made this possible in milk, why can't we make it possible in other perishable crops like vegetables and fruit? So in that case, here comes the role of farmers collective and infrastructure creation for these farmers collective. So if we have good marketing infrastructure, good processing facilities, here basically why these milk or cooperatives are successful, because they have very good processing capacity and market linkages at par with any big corporate in the world. So that's why farmers are getting benefit out of that. So we need this kind of initiative.
Making agriculture in India risk averse, and obviously the Fasal Bima Yojana is one of the ways in which you can insure your crops and make your crop less risky while you cultivate. How do you see the Fasal Bima Yojana as a scheme to make agriculture less risky in the entire context?
Yes, definitely. It is not just now that the growing crop and getting good prices will save the farmer or safeguard the farmers. These volatile weather changes and these instances of this flash flood and drought and uneven rain in the season of monsoon, all these vulnerabilities are increasing day by day. One option is that we can have some these climate change proof varieties. Definitely scientists are working on that, and they will come out with drought prone and these kind of varieties, and some varieties which can have some this thing if their temperature goes up, so they can survive even in that situation. But basically to mitigate the risk is the most important. Basically to cover the risk is also kind of to secure the farmer's income. And insurance scheme is the most crucial here. Definitely a scheme is there, but some states are moving away from the scheme. That is not good. And instead of optional, this must be compulsory. We have to make some required changes in the scheme, because it is needed for each and every farmer to save them from the vulnerabilities of weather and some other natural calamities.
With this, I'd like to wind up the discussion, Harveer sir. It was very nice talking to you, and thanks for sharing your views.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
You were listening to a discussion on initiatives for doubling the farmer's income. The participants were Harveer Singh, agriculture expert, and Sanjeev Mukherjee, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.